Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Shalom, I'm David Menzar, spokesman for the National Public Diplomacy Directorate in the Office of the Prime Minister. This Thursday, the 10th of April, it's day 552 of the October 7th war, more than 18 months since this country was attacked. I'll give you a very quick update and then we'll get to your questions. To start with, today, Jews the world over and here in Israel are preparing for Passover, Pesach, the festival of freedom. We recall Moses' cry to Pharaoh. Moses said, "Let my people go." Today, that cry is not just an ancient piece of history, it's our urgent living plea for the 59 hostages still held by Hamas in Gaza for over a year and a half. Israeli men and women, alive and murdered, have been kept from their families. Behind every number is a name, behind every name is a face, and behind every face is a life stolen. Israel's mission is clear: to bring them all home. Israel's government is working day and night to make that happen. President Trump acknowledged this publicly and said he saw it firsthand. We will not stop until the last hostage is back. And let me be absolutely clear, Israel battles Hamas so that it will never again be able to take Israelis hostage. We will dismantle this terror machine and ensure that no one ever again believes that they can abduct Israelis and get away with it. This is our duty, our promise, and our fight for freedom, for justice, and for every single hostage still in darkness. Over the Pesach holiday, over the Passover holiday, our police and security services are in increased deployment and on heightened alert. The forces will take all necessary measures to ensure the safety of the public. Next to the stronger-than-ever alliance between Israel and the US, I can share with you that Israel has congratulated Governor Mike Huckabee on his confirmation as US ambassador to Israel. He's an outstanding friend of the Jewish state, and his confirmation further strengthens the unbreakable bond between our nations. The government has put out statements on all of the following subjects. But allow me to quickly summarize some of Israel's positions. On Iran, the US and Israel agree that Iran must not be able to acquire nuclear weapons, with a preferred deal being a full dismantling of its nuclear program under US supervision. In Gaza, Israel's operations continue to target Hamas infrastructure and terrorists, with the goal of eliminating Hamas and returning all of our hostages. On Turkey, Turkey wants to establish military bases in Syria. This endangers Israel, and we are opposing this for that reason. We're working against it, and this was discussed together with President Trump. I can share with you the latest statement which has come out of our office, that the Prime Minister has authorized a diplomatic security delegation led by the National Security Council Director Tzachi Hanegbi, and with the participation of senior representatives from the Defense Ministry and the security services. They met last night with a parallel Turkish delegation. Israel thanks Azerbaijan and their President Ilham Aliyev for hosting these important talks. I can share with you that each side has presented its interests in the region, and it has been agreed to continue the path of dialogue for the purpose of maintaining regional stability. On the issue of tariffs, President Trump has asked countries to reduce their trade deficits with the US to zero. Israel has said that it's not so difficult for us to do, and we will certainly do it. And lastly, to Israel's counter-terror operations in Judea and Samaria. This week, our security forces have conducted operations in Nablus, which have resulted in the apprehension of two important terrorists and the confiscation of weapons. Mohammed Bana, a senior member of the Lion's Den terrorist network was arrested by our special forces. Bana was armed with an M16 rifle and a spray grenade. His record is of shootings and of explosive attacks, and he had further attacks planned. The second terrorist, Khalil Hanbali, was apprehended by the IDF's elite Divan unit acting on intelligence. His record was shooting attacks as well and weapons supply for terrorists. These operations are to ensure civilian security, and they will continue. There will be no safe havens for terrorists in Judea and Samaria, and we will continue to operate with force to thwart terrorist activities across the entire region, and of course focusing on North Samaria, where there have been murderous attacks and where they've been launched. Okay, that's the end of our briefing here today. Please put your questions in the chat together with your news outlet, and we will take your questions now. Okay, Ari O'Sullivan from Khan News in Israel. You've just put in the chat there, fragmentation grenade. So perhaps you could put the rest of your question in. Hannah Julian from the Jewish Press. The Trump administration has announced a 90-day pause on the tariffs with a reduction to 10%. Does that apply to Israel also? Thank you. Thank you for that question, Hannah. I shared with you our current, what we have currently on when it comes to tariffs following, these are the statements which the Prime Minister made as he returned from his historic second visit in this second term to see President Trump in Washington, D.C. He gave some comments there. I don't have anything more to add. I can advise perhaps to go to the Finance Ministry where they'll be able to give some specifics on that. Yeah, thank you, Aria. You're correcting rather than Aria Sullivan from Khan. You're correcting me that I should have said fragmentation grenade rather than spray grenade. Thank you for that correction, Aria. Question from John Ray at ITV News. On the 23rd of March incident, the IDF soldiers identified their targets as Hamas before or after they were killed. Thank you for that question, John Ray from ITV News. John, as I've mentioned to you before, and as you saw, because we've discussed this, following my interview on Sky the other evening, Israel is currently undergoing an investigation. Israel, the independent arm of the IDF, is currently undergoing an investigation. It's a thorough investigation, a detailed investigation. It's been overseen by the senior people, indeed the Chief of Staff, regarding this particular incident. And so I will not say anything now which will prejudice. I might remind you that this method of investigation is precisely what the British Armed Forces would do. Indeed, the US Armed Forces, when there is an incident which needs to be investigated, the investigation arms of the British Armed Forces would investigate, and that's precisely what we were doing. So I think that this demands to constantly ask me details of the investigation are, I think they're not in keeping with the investigation. The results of the investigation will be coming out shortly. But I will tell you that it is a matter of public record that Hamas have on many documented occasions used ambulances as a cover. They've used it as terrorist transport. They've used it to ferry weapons. Indeed, they've used ambulances as escape vehicles. Okay, there is, abusing the very notion of the emergency services. It is an actual abuse of that notion. So that is the real essence of this issue. And this willingness to constantly believe Hamas first and foremost, first of all, but not Israel, I think is a very unfortunate hallmark of much of the media reporting on this issue. On the reports about the attack in Rafah, it was during a stakeout against terrorist activity. We've already shared with you the IDF soldiers opened fire from a distance at vehicles that were moving suspiciously in their direction. And now, among the dead were 6 Hamas terrorists. What were Hamas terrorists doing in ambulances? This incident has been reported in real time to the United Nations officials, and as I've mentioned to you, the IDF is conducting an investigation into the circumstances of the incidents that took place a couple of weeks ago. The Hamas terror organization systematically violates international law. They take over civilian facilities and infrastructure. They take over hospitals, they take over schools, they take over mosques, while cruelly exploiting and placing the civilian population in Gaza at risk by using them as human shields for its actions. Okay, question here from Melanie Lidman at AP, I believe. Melanie, forgive me if I got your news outlet wrong. Perhaps you could let me know, Melanie, your news outlet. Is there any additional information about what was discussed at the Turkey-Israel meeting in Azerbaijan? Was it connected to Syria? Thank you for that question, Melanie. I think in my statement, at the start of this brief, I gave you what we have at the moment to share with you on those Turkey-Israel discussions. I've given you, and you can see from the Prime Minister's comments, which he made just as he left Washington, D.C. There's some details there, which I've shared with you today. And also our office has just put out a statement regarding those talks, which have been, which we've thanked Azerbaijan and their president for brokering between Israeli very senior Israeli and Turkish officials. I haven't got any more to add on that particular issue. And I've got a final question here from Enes Kanali from the Anadolu Agency. During their, and your question is, during their talks in the Oval Office with Prime Minister Netanyahu, US President Trump praised Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's leadership and offered a mediation between the two countries. What is Israel's take about Trump's comment on Erdogan and Syria? Is Israel eager for President Trump's mediation between Turkey and Israel about Syria? Thank you, Enes. In the opening remarks, I spoke about this particular issue. So we really haven't got anything more to add. And I did share with you the latest, the very latest, in the last few moments actually, issues that we've shared with you regarding those talks which have recently taken place. And we haven't got anything more to share with you on that. Good. So I think that's our last question here today. May I take this opportunity of wishing our Jewish viewers a Chag Kasher v'Sameach, a happy Easter, to our Christian viewers, and also our best wishes from here in Israel. We'll have another briefing again. We'll see how that goes next week. Monday is, of course, Easter Monday. And in the meantime, you can contact us in the usual way for any requests that you may have. Please do stay safe. And in the meantime, we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.